What's up, guys? Bill here. Welcome back to another watch list walkthrough. Yesterday on Twitter on Sunday, I posted 3 trade ideas. 2 were day trades for AMAT and CRWD. 1 was a swing for BBY, and they all had great days today. So very happy about that. Especially coming into a holiday shortened week when I was kind of like cautiously optimistic. A lot of these holiday shortened weeks, you get kind of low volume, choppy action, and SPY and Qs, despite some overextension and some poor breadth recently, just ripped higher, to my surprise. And that's great. Allow yourself to be pleasantly surprised by the market. You don't always have to be full size, super full confidence on all your positions. But if you're seeing setups that you like, and the stocks that you're following and watching in your watch lists are working, then keep trading. Don't let narratives and things scare you out of trades that you think are good trades, okay? So I'm going to review all 3 of those trades, plus go through SPY and show you how I traded today's action. Let's start with AMAT. AMAT was a double inside day, and you guys know how I like to play these. I'm either going to look for a breakout over the previous day's high, which is this purple line, or a pullback and hold of the previous day's low. Obviously, we didn't get down there, and the first 5-minute candle of the day shot up on volume and nice close over the trigger. So I'm ready to get long here, but I wait for the retest, okay? Grab it. Boom. Now, unfortunately, we kept selling and selling right after I bought. But my risk is a close, 5-minute close below low a day. This also ended up being our 15-minute opening range low. So look what we have here. Lots of support down here, right? It keeps holding. Now, I'll be honest. When we started selling down here and I looked over at QQQ and it was losing its own opening range low and closing way down here, I thought, okay, well, this isn't going to work, right? But that's not when you cut. You don't cut thinking, okay, yeah, this is probably not going to work out. You cut on confirmation. So what's the confirmation? A 5-minute close below low a day. We never get it, right? AMAT's not looking amazing. There were other things that were looking a lot better at this time. Tesla, Apple, things like that. But it's holding my risk level, so I'm staying in. Yeah, it's frustrating. I'm red on the trade. Other things are better. It's easy to get FOMO. It's easy to be impatient and just cut this and say, I'm done looking at this. I've been there. I've done that. Okay. But I try to not get stopped out before my risk has been confirmed and validated, and it never was. All right. So eventually we end up just grinding higher all day, okay? And this turns into what, if you would have got impatient or scared out by these little dips below your risk level, you'll take your 30% loss, 35% loss. Okay, yeah, it's not the end of the world, but these contracts went well over 100% today, or the ones I had, 240s. And it was a pretty smooth trade once it ended up breaking out of the inside day high for the second time. It just kind of grinded up all day and was a real nice trade. Okay. Targets on a trade like this, 240 was a big spot for me, and I took a lot of profit there. And then I just started playing every dollar. 241, 242, and we ended up getting up to 243. Because this is a stock that's trading at all-time highs. It's in price exploration. So I just like to use the whole dollar amounts on a stock like this. You can draw fib extensions from different places on the chart if you want to as well. It's what I'm having to do with SPY and Qs right now a lot. But yeah, so just a pretty simple trade for the most part. Yeah, it was a little choppy at first and you had to have good patience, but it never closed below the risk level. So we got the entry we wanted. It turned out to not be the best entry in the world based on the way that the stock traded this morning. One thing I think I would do slightly differently if I had this trade again was I'd probably add about half size here, maybe 2/3, and allow for some room down. The reason being, this first candle was pretty wide range, okay, for this stock. It was a little over $3 of range on the first candle. That leaves a lot of room to pull back. I probably would have just got about half of the position here and added more, either in the middle of the range or even on the first test of this bottom of this range to lower my average a bit so that I didn't have to sit and stare at the position down 30% all this time, because that can start to weigh on your, your mentality. So I would say I could have done a little bit better job executing there, especially playing kind of an aggressive breakout trade on an extended market. Okay. But it worked out. Let's talk about crowd. My main focus off the open was AMAT. That was my favorite setup. So by the time I looked at crowd, it had already done this. It had already sold off below our opening range low. Our inside day low, double inside day low, and then immediately reclaimed it. And when I saw it for the first time, it was pulling back like this. Okay. And I was saying to myself, all right, great. We've lost the inside day low, which is normally not good, but it reclaimed it quick. And now we're coming back down towards the bottom of that range. It seems like a good place for me to try an entry. At the bottom of the range on a nice reclaim. And if you look at like a higher time frame candle, like a 10, look at that wick, right? Look at the 15. That's very bullish, in my opinion. Okay. So you see that kind of stuff and you're like, let me get in close to my risk. We're pulling back. I got in right around here. All right. And after that, it was pretty quick. I was green. And then there was a lot of sideways. So now I'm in another trade where this one's working out better initially. Right away, I'm green than AMAT, but it was still slow. And, it was just like really grinding, but it was grinding the EMAs. So there was no reason for me to cut or get scared out or, anything like that. But I was able to take a lot of profit before it even broke out of its double inside day. So that's the great part about being able to get dips when you're playing inside days with a thesis and you're bullish. Being able to get down at the bottom of the range is awesome. AMAT did not give us that opportunity, but crowd did. Even lost it and reclaimed it, but that's fine. It's kind of the same deal. A dip down and hold or a dip down, loss, reclaim. Great entry spots on these types of setups. And as you can see, guys, it just grinded up the EMAs all day. Was I getting a little impatient in here just because I was seeing some other stocks really moving and Qs and SPY were getting going too, and crowd was still kind of like, chugging along, grinding? Yeah, I was getting a little patient, but what made it easier was because I got this nice entry, I was nice and green to start. And unlike AMAT, where I didn't get a great entry, and I was just hoping my risk level didn't break. Okay. But double bagger on these, just a really nice trade overall. And I held a little bit overnight to see if we can get to 400, but it had a pretty nasty close. So we'll see tomorrow. The QQQ is extremely extended now. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about, how do you tell if something's extended? There's two ways I look at it. I look at the 9 and 20 and how far price is above with QQQ. As you can see right now, today it closed at 485. And the 9 EMAs all the way down at 472, $13 away. I also really like to use Keltner channels. And the third extension I find is pretty reliable for indexes telling when they're extended. Look at SPY, for instance. All right. Here's the third extension. This is where when price gets up here, you start to say, okay, let me just, not get super aggressive with my longs. Let's take profit on our swings, things like this, not start a bunch of new positions, all that. It doesn't mean you're trying to time a top, at least not for me. I don't fight the trend. But you can see that price gets up to this red line. It tends to pull back or, respect it really well. And we can go back several months and just see the respect of this third extension Keltner channel. It'll poke over every once in a while, but it's usually short-lived when it does, right? What are we, all the way back in August of 2022. Look at the respect, okay? So that's where we ended up closing and rejecting today, a small rejection. But that's where we got to today. So now we're pretty extended. Qs has closed over it now 3 days in a row and is way above that red line. That is extremely extended. And that's rare. I mean, Qs respects this as well. It's not just SPY. We see the respect here on Qs as well. So, going into the rest of the week, I was already a little cautious coming into this week, and I was pleasantly surprised today. I'm going to be even more cautious the rest of the week with that holiday on Wednesday, maybe some low volume. Gut feeling is they got a lot of the move for this week out of the way today, and the rest of the week's going to be chill. And what I'm going to be looking for is some of these other sectors that are lagging and, small caps and growth names and things that have been beaten down start to join the party a little bit. But you have a big day. I had a 16% day today. That's my week. I'm good. I don't need to make another trade if I don't want to, right? And that's the way to go about these things is you catch a big day like this, and I didn't even have a ton of size on anything. You don't need to force stuff the rest of the week, right? And especially with all this overextension, you can afford now to just be patient, wait for things to settle down a bit, see how other lagging sectors respond if they want to join the party or not. That's up to you. But also, last thing here, let's talk about BBY. That was the swing idea I posted on Twitter yesterday. The reason I like this swing, this is my favorite type of setup for a swing. It's a power earnings gap name that has finally started to pull back a little bit, but under control in a flag in low volume. See all the big volume 3 days in a row on this move up and then really low volume, right? For several days, and the range starts to get tighter and tighter. And what happens here, we have an inside day and an inside week. These yellow lines are your weekly, previous week's high and low. Purple lines, previous days, high and low. And, to be fair, BBY gapped up on a nice price upgrade. But, you start to find these types of setups, and you'll notice that every once in a while, you catch these upgrades because, the analysts are seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. They're seeing a great looking stock that has, more room to go up and is digesting a big earnings beat, a strong earnings beat nicely here. So these aren't really coincidences. And the more you dial in your setups and your swings, the more often you'll get quote unquote lucky and catch these upgrades and things like that. So big volume today on the breakout. Now, if you weren't in on Friday, which is the time I usually like to take trades like this, is the day before when I see it's going to be an inside day. It did give a nice retest opportunity either at the inside week high breakout and almost all the way back down to yesterday's high. You see this big wick, but it got bought back up, and that's a great sign. So, if you want to try to find swing opportunities, the stuff that I look for, that's what I look for. I look for the pegs or big gappers or breakout trades with the volume backing it, and then the digestion on low volume as the EMAs catch up and the range of the stock gets tighter and tighter and tighter till eventually, and not always has to be, it doesn't always have to be an inside day for me to take an entry, but something that looks like this. This is the perfect time for me to get into things when they're not too extended, they've digested. A lot of times you'll catch these gap ups like that, and whether there's news or not, they tend to break out and continue the trend and the move from earlier. Okay. And then last but not least, let's just talk about SPY and the action on SPY today. Okay. So I mentioned coming into the week kind of with a cautious mindset because of the holiday shortened week and the overextension and all that. And early on in the morning, it was a bit choppy, right? We had a sell-off right off the open that was bought back up, and a few candles later, they sold it down hard. And this is kind of what I was afraid of coming into this week, that there would be low volume and that there would be kind of choppy, nasty moves like this that would be hard to get. But eventually, that changed pretty quick. And there's a couple things I was watching. One, SPY was an inside day coming into today. You can see right here, okay? The inside day high is this purple line. I wanted to see an inside day high breakout. First try, rejected, right? But we got this EMA crossback, and it held here. So I was still watching SPY. I was like, if we can hold this EMAs, it's getting really tight here. I think we're going to be able to break out of this inside day range and get some things going. And also, at that time, market net flow was starting to put in a nice divergence. You can see right around here, what time is it? It's 7:50 my time. So that's right around here. You can see that we're getting this bullish divergence, right? We had a little bit of a divergence early in the day, but it kind of gave it back. And then it started to build again right as we were getting tight. Oh, sorry, over here. Right as we were getting tight under this inside day high. Okay? Now, we get the push through on volume. That's what you want to see. I'm in SPY calls here. And after that, that was it. I mean, it's about as easy of a day as you can get if you just traded SPY today. Confirmation on a 10 and 15 minute close here at 8 o'clock above the inside day high. And it just never looked back. It never lost the 9 until we got all the way to the largest GEX pull at 548. A $5 move with no stress, guys. You'd want to see here was the previous all-time high. What you want to see is overtake that high with volume. It did. You're just seeing all the big pops in volume, lower volume pushback. Big pops in volume, lower volume pushback. Now, things got a little wonkier here volume-wise later in the day with some selling volume that could have just been people taking profits. Impossible to say. But we never lost the 9. So you just stay in until you lose the 9. And this was a major target for me. And I was out most of my calls at 548. We pushed about 53 cents more past that. Nothing crazy. And then eventually what? We start to lose the 9. And that's a good place to get out. That's a fine place to get out. You want to have a little more risk. You could say, well, I'm staying in until we lose the 20. Then you can get out here. But that's it. I mean, this is why I say I'm not going to be super aggressive the rest of the week. These kind of days don't come around that often. And I always harp on market net flow. When it's hitting, you get these kind of days. You get these smooth $5 moves from your entry where you're never stressing it. And it just doesn't lose the 9 on the 5. And that's the beauty of this tool. One day like this, a month, you'll be a profitable trader. You don't need to mess around with the other choppy days. I think there could be some choppy days coming the rest of the week. I'll still allow myself to be pleasantly surprised. I'll still look for setups tonight, and the stuff that I like, I will play. I'll probably size lighter. But that's what it's all about, guys. We don't need to try to time tops. We can accept that the market's extended. We can see it. We can know it. We can know breadth isn't great. But that doesn't mean we're trying to time the tops. There's no reason to short the indexes right now. They keep trading above the moving averages, right? You're throwing darts, at a tiny target if you keep trying to short these indexes, okay? So hopefully that helped, guys, those setups. I will continue to post ideas on Twitter that you guys can trade. And if you have any questions or anything like that about any of the setups at any time, you just leave a comment on my YouTube or find me on Twitter, and I'll help you out.